So much for history. Now we're going to talk a little bit about product group strategy, and there's a good reason for doing that. First of all, would any of you like to work at a company that didn't have a strategy? No. And if the company has a strategy, you'd sort of like to know about it, right? Know what it is. And once again, this is one of these things like the architecture I talked about before. You know, if it's in one person's head and nobody else knows about it, it's a hidden architecture. Well, product group strategy, it shouldn't be a secret. You should know what the strategy is because, once again, remember, we don't micromanage you. You make 100 decisions a day without consulting a supervisor. Okay? In order to be better able to make those decisions, you need to know what the overall strategy is. Because you need to know as you make those decisions, is this consistent with rational strategy? So in this unit, we're going to sort of tell you what the strategy is. So overall, you know, we want to provide comprehensive life cycle coverage. If you tell people you're going to help them with their software development problems, you got to cover the whole thing. You can't just say, well, we'll help you with this one little piece, right? So we have to provide products across the whole life cycle. It's an act of faith that the products and the process have to mutually reinforce each other. Okay? The products don't exist in the abstract, nor does the process. They mutually reinforce each other. We believe we have to be the market leader in every category, and I believe that's true today, except in test. I think we're in second place in test, and we need to get better. Because we build these long-term relationships with companies that are going to be doing software development forever, the products have to work. Can't become shelfware. Okay? The products need to be industrial strength, they need to scale, and they need to be robust. Okay? People are going to use these products every day for the next 20 or 30 years. Okay? They have to add real value, they have to be easy to use, upgrade, maintain, install, all of those things. We want to provide meaningful integrations across the products so that over time, in fact, we blur out the boundaries between products. And the user experience is one of moving from one activity to another. Okay? And we'll talk more about this a little later on when we talk about one dance card. We want to ease acquisition and lower the total cost of ownership. Okay? When customers buy products from us, they have several different costs. They have the cost of the license, they have the cost of customer support. Those are things they pay to us. But they have lots of other costs that they don't pay to us. They have things like system admin, they have things like training, they have lots of other costs which are more or less hidden. And also money that doesn't come to us but that are part of their total cost of ownership. We need to continually try to lower those using suites and one dance card. We're an international company, so we will localize the products wherever that's appropriate. For right now, that looks like China and Japan. In China and Japan, you really can't get any penetration unless you have localized products. What we found is that for pretty much every place else, English is good enough. Now, that may change over time, but for right now, that's the strategy. We want to be platform neutral. Sometimes we call that the Switzerland strategy, and that is that we provide our tools on all of the mainstream platforms, IBM, Unix, Windows. This is a very costly strategy for Rational. Very costly. It takes a lot of work, a lot of effort to produce our whole product line on all these different platforms.
Based on that, on the return that we get, the percentage of our customers, do we make a cutoff line at some point?
Yes. As I said, we cover the mainstream platforms. We don't, for example, support the Mac. On Unix, we used to support many, many more platforms than we currently support. Okay, so, but on the other hand, we've added Linux because as that platform became more important, we had to support it. So basically, we follow the market. The point is that, and notice that we don't claim that we're equally strong with every product on every platform, okay? But we do want to claim that we're platform neutral. And that's important because it keeps us from being perceived as a captive of any of the large vendors. And of course, you know, the whole HDS effort, you know, we believe hosting at some point is going to become economically interesting, and we want to make sure that we have that base covered. Now, what's one dance card? I don't know if you've heard of this before, but basically, you know, in the 90s we moved from many, many point products to suites. The next step in that evolution is something we call one dance card, which is basically scalable, configurable, basically one product. And if you look a little more in detail at what that one product consists of, it actually has three main pieces. There's XDE, which is the practitioner desktop. Those are kind of all the tools that developers would use. Then there's the team infrastructure products. Those are basically the products that help teams basically stay organized. So it's configuration management, defect management, project management, all of the stuff. One way to think about this is that this is the stuff that appeals to programmers and this is the stuff that appeals to managers. Is one way to think about that. And then there's Rational Developer Network, which is kind of the part that addresses the process part. Now, what do we mean by one product? Will the customer wind up having, you know, one thing they can buy? Well, no, that's not true. There's going to be lots of different packaging alternatives, okay? But when the customers purchase the complete solution, they get everything that they get from suites today, and they get something else, this thing called RCOM, and that's the Rational Common Object Model. And what this does is basically unify or clean up a lot of the inconsistencies we have today in the product line. For example, a lot of our products have the notion of a project, and that notion is slightly different from product to product, and this causes a lot of confusion. We're moving towards, you know, rationalizing all of that, no pun intended, and it may be that you know, underneath all of this, some of the data stores are still different. But what we're aiming for is architecturally a very common interface to all of these objects. Now, you know, this is something I don't talk very much to the field people about because if you think about this, when a field person sees this slide, they say, oh, we're going to have ODC in 2002. Well, no, they won't. 2002 is when we start working or continue working on ODC. It's going to take us years to achieve that vision because it involves some fundamental architectural changes. So I don't show this slide to the field because the field needs to sell this. The field always needs to sell what it has today. Okay? So this is the future. This is what we have today. And of course, the idea is that if the customer buys the single solution, they basically get more value than if they buy each of these pieces individually. Now that's the strategy. What about some of the tactical details of how we actually accomplish all this? Well, we have a continuous product development activity, but we only deliver twice a year, at most. And we may, in fact, go to once a year. We've been delivering twice a year for about 3 years. And we have some reasons now to believe that we'd be better cutting this back. But we have to do it synchronously. We know that. Our customers have given us that feedback. And April and or October are the right months to do it given our fiscal year boundaries. Things have gotten a lot better with the field organization when they know they can depend on product releases at certain times of the year. One of the other things that's very important is that we use our own tools. We call this eating our own dog food. And once again, we don't do this as religiously as we should, but this is a goal, an objective, a target. What we have found is that every time we use our own products internally, they get much better, much faster. Okay? Because our own intensive use of the products stresses them a lot more. And we find a lot of problems and defects here before the customers find them. So this is an article of faith. We definitely need to use our own tools as much as possible. We're moving to all online documentation. This is also customer-driven. Our customers have told us over and over again, we don't want these very large volumes that sit on the shelf that nobody looks at. And we're not going to pay you for it. And we need to continue to raise the quality bar with every release. I'm going to talk a little later about quality and why it's important. But we do need to remember that the whole industry is moving up the quality ladder. Okay? If we don't, implicitly what that means is we're falling behind. Okay? This is not something where you can stand still. Standing still here means you're moving backwards. And this is a slide so that everybody can identify who they are. And I think we try to say in as few English words as possible what we actually think it is that you do, without too much jargon. Hopefully we haven't left anybody out.